Hello and welcome to Watchworthy, where we give our black ass perspective over documentaries that we find watchworthy and want you guys to see. It's your co-host, Brother Ash.
And I'm Miss Christy.
And on this episode, we're going to be discussing the TV series Hollywood Demons. Lord.
They got a lot of them.
Lord. Rebuke them. And on this episode, this is a series that is on HBO Max. In this particular episode, they're covering the dark side of Power Rangers.
R.I.P. I'm just so sad because why every childhood thing gotta have a dark side?
I think we ruined our own childhood doing this podcast because not the Power Rangers. Like I had the cassette Mighty Morphin Power Ranger movie. I was just telling Miss Christy last week for my 7th birthday party. I did the Red Ranger outfit. Got a picture like this. So yeah, this was a rough watch, but watchworthy for sure. Like I said, it's on HBO Max, and it goes into all of the struggles in the life that they had because of their life in the spotlight. The docuseries features people like Dr. Drew Pinsky. He was an addiction specialist. Addiction is a common theme that we will talk about and discuss in this episode.
You've probably seen him on other like reality shows. Like he's always like the doctor for the celebrities, you know.
Another important person was Jeff Pruitt. He was the Power Rangers stunt coordinator.
I got a bone to pick with him, but we'll get into it.
And last but not least, some of the living Power Rangers. If y'all haven't been keeping up with the
They're
Power
on like
Rangers
season 17 or something, yeah.
world, yeah, we've lost a few of our favorite Rangers. So RIP to some of them, but we did get to hear some of the experience of the ones that are still living. So yeah, let's get into it.
All right, so the U.S. Power Rangers that we know and love was actually adapted from the Japanese show by media investor Haim Saban. So, are you putting a red flag already? No. Okay.
No, I wasn't.
False alarm. I just think that it's interesting that a lot of things we think are original in America are not. We always take stuff from other cultures, and literally every episode, word for word, like they just dubbed it and like remade it for America.
Wow.
So that was interesting to see, and it did very well. So they soon were able to sell the Power Rangers franchise to Fox Studios. So that's probably the one that we grew up on, you know? Wasn't it like Saturday mornings or whatever, like?
Yeah, I remember them mainly Saturday mornings and the cassettes that I had.
Yeah, so we're talking about the 90s, the 2000s. That's why I got on my Powerline t-shirt for the 90s kids.
And I'm sweating a little bit because I just came from my Power Ranger audition.
Oh, yes. So
I'm trying to be
Green Ranger?
I'm trying to be the Brown Ranger.
They had just about every color, so maybe they'll give you a call.
Word.
But only if you have a background in martial arts and gymnastics. That seems to be the common thread between some of these folks. They had never been actors before, but they all had a background in like martial arts or gymnastics because they were doing their own stunts back then. Okay, red flag because
red flag.
Niggas was wilding back in the 90s, jumping off of stuff and like real stunts. Why did people think that was a good idea? Like, let's risk our lives for this children's show.
And not only that, I was the kid that was trying to imitate everything.
Yeah, they
I saw
probably
the
had
Power
to say like,
Rangers
do not try this at home, kids.
Fuck that. I was jumping off couches, trying to drop kick my sister, all of that. Like.
And a lot of these actors were only aged, 18 to 25. They were new to the industry. One woman in particular told a story about how she moved from Arizona to California, auditioned, she got the role, but she couldn't even afford to move to California and afford rent to take the job. And they were like, oh, well, I guess you can't be on the show. So that was really sad to see how a lot of them, we've seen this a lot on television, especially with young actors. They're overworked, they're underpaid, and the only incentive was really oh, we're going to make you a star after this show.
And that's
red flag.
When you starting out in Hollywood and you going to all of these rehearsals and you about to be on TV in front of all these kids, you just want to get on. So you going to sign anything. So
they said on this episode, they said that once they offered you the position, no, they made you sign a contract before they even offered you the position. So you're hoping okay, I'm signing this contract and then they're going to hire me. So most of them, of course, did not read it. Just a mess. The industry is still like this. I hate that the industry is still like this. That's why it's called Hollywood Demons. It's a lot of demonic work going on just to make people superstars.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And so, these young actors, they weren't even getting a cut of the $1 billion Power Rangers merchandising. Red flag. that really annoyed me because that's the Power Rangers that I know and love. The toys, the T-shirts, the movies. They were not getting us any percentage of that.
And y'all should have seen the attitudes they had when they was talking about this. It was like, hell no, they wasn't getting up. When I bought a Power Rangers toy, I didn't give a fuck about no Saban, nothing. I wanted this Red Ranger because I thought that it was freaking Jason under here. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like those, I know like they came up with the ideas, but they technically didn't because they got it from Japan. But those actors and actresses brought these characters to life.
They were literally using their likeness for the toys. So imagine having an action figure that looks like your face, but you're not getting paid for it. That's really foul. That's nasty work.
Steven.
And so they were literally making up to $1 billion on all this. You have to understand, like, before this toy era, kids had like pickup sticks, jacks, a yo-yo. We didn't have like that action figure era until like the 80s, 90s. That's when it really became popular. So it was taking off. They were flying off the shelves. The lunch boxes, everything. And you're telling me I'm not getting any cent? I'm not getting anything from this? So the other thing was they were like, oh, if you complain, we don't care. We'll just replace you. Changing the cast regularly was not a problem. They had 36 actors play the Power Rangers over 400 episodes. Red flag, because
that's wild.
I guess one episode you're watching, you're like, hey, that's Jason. Then the next episode, you're like, that's not Jason. That's somebody else is now the Red Ranger. And kids, we don't care. We just let it rock.
I'm going to be real with you. Like, I was so young at the time, I can't even remember what those changes happening. Like,
yeah.
Because it got to a point I stopped watching the Power Rangers after a certain season. Like, I guess the seasons
you age out, yeah.
Yeah, because it was like Mighty Morphin, then it was SPD, then it was like Dino Force, then it. So like
I don't even know all that.
Yeah. But if
you're a kid, you
don't know this because you're waiting for that moment when they say it's morphin' time and they put them suits on and they start kicking ass. So,
and I guess since their faces are covered most of the time, it doesn't really matter who's under the suit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just really blew my mind. Like, they just replaced them like every season over all these episodes. And, like I said, the kids didn't care. The ratings continued to go up. So the Power Rangers, they said at the time, was even bigger than Sesame Street, DC, Marvel. Like, it was its own universe as well. And, in terms of sales, like, they were selling more, not just ratings, but also selling more, like I said, the lunch boxes and everything. So I just didn't realize how big it was. I'm proud to be a part of that. Like, 90s babies represent. And so eventually Fox sold the Power Rangers to Disney. Now, we all know once Disney gets their grips on something, it becomes a little more family friendly and not so much action packed. Like, they had weapons and stuff on the previous episodes. Now it wasn't so action packed.
Now learn a lesson about friendship.
There's always an after school lesson involved. And most importantly, these actors now were part of a union because Disney was like, we're not going to have y'all doing all these stunts and stuff and not have any protections.
That's good.
That was good. But then they said it got kind of boring because now they did fake stunts. They said it was so... They were so cautious, they wouldn't even let the actors go up the steps by themselves. He said that he had a stunt double for the steps. I'm like, dang, you can't even walk up the steps, but they really did not want anybody to get injured. So you'll notice if you watch the show, you can see like when Disney started to take over and like the show started to change a little bit. So like you said, that was probably for Gen Z.
That's probably around the time I faded back because I did notice like, I don't know, like Power Rangers was more kick ass.
Yeah.
The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to me are the best ones.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so... the Power Rangers, although it was a hit show, they were talking about how a lot of the actors afterwards could not find work because it was kind of like a stain on your reputations. Like, oh, you did that little kiddie show, but you're not a real actor. You weren't taken seriously. It actually made a lot of the actors depressed because it was like, y'all told me I was going to get put on. I was going to be able to do whatever I want after this show, get that Hollywood clout. But now people are laughing at me in the industry because I was a Power Ranger. So that kind of sucks, but I totally understand. Like, sometimes people get typecast, and we're talking about superheroes, right? Yeah. Chris Evans, he's been trying to do stuff since Captain America. I ain't really seen nothing hit yet for real.
Well, no, the one thing he did was pretty good. It was that Netflix movie. But here we are, trying to
can't even
remember what
the
name was. But it was the Netflix movie. It was action packed. It did really good. He was basically kind of like. I don't think he was a good guy, but it's interesting though. Like you said, like every time I see certain people,
you're gonna think of that character.
Yeah, even like Sylvester Stallone. You see Sylvester Stallone, you think Rocky. You know what I mean?
That's it.
But I guess the flip side of that is hopefully your typecast is a really, really profitable role that can feed you for the rest of your life.
Look at Mark Wahlberg. He's always like that ditzy, ex-cop or something. He's always playing some type of, and he's just made the same movie over and over. But some people it works. But Power Rangers, they want to know what else can you do after that, Yeah. So it really did start to put some of these actors into a deep depression, and they started to call it the Power Rangers curse. Now,
red flag.
Listen,
dun, dun,
I don't know what I believe. I guess I do believe in curses to a certain extent because I've heard of other things like this in Hollywood, like Poltergeist. Everybody on that movie ended up dying mysteriously somehow. On this show, the Power Rangers, apparently people from this casting crew continue to end up either committing crimes or violence.
And you know what? I don't think necessarily it's like a curse in the sense of supernatural powers being at play here. I think it's more so of a curse when you have an environment that is just negative. You got overworked young people who are underpaid, and you take these kids in their early to mid 20s and you make them rock stars, but they don't really get to have the lifestyle to sustain after you're done with them.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster for anybody's mental health. So I think they created the curse. They try to call it a curse. No, this is what we call Hollywood treating young actors and actresses like shit.
That's true.
That's what it is.
And I think today we just call it burnout. Like, they were seriously burnt out. They said one anecdote they told was crazy, y'all. They said the pilot, like the very first episode they filmed in the desert. So it was like 100 degrees and people were wearing like masks and full suits in 100 degrees. One guy had like a heat stroke and was flailing on the ground.
Yep.
And they were like, if we don't film this episode, the whole show is ruined. So they stripped him from his costume and they said, we'll give $100 to anybody else who wants to stand in.
Wow.
And sure enough, somebody else filled in. And while they were waiting on the ambulance, he's still flailing on the ground. They're still recording.
So he never stopped flailing on the ground.
No.
They took his fucking... I don't know, for those of y'all who remember the Power Rangers, the putty guys were like...
The mask was like sticky plastic.
They were the bad little minions for Rita Repulsa. And they had these thick masks, and they freaking stripped him out of it as he was having his heat stroke, and somebody jumped right in. So that's
only for $100 too.
For $100, but this is the 90s.
They needed some cash.
$100 is like a full day's working. And what was the working wage was around like $6 an hour.
Yeah, they said that the one girl was like, yeah, after the pilot, I got my check and it was only like $100. I'm like,
but this ain't ShopRite grabbing carts in the parking lot, sweetheart.
Yeah.
This is a set, so y'all gonna be here for hours doing shit till y'all get it right. So we want to move into.
Oh wait, I forgot to add. I know you said the Red Ranger was your favorite, but it turns out most of the people who are committing these crimes happen to be Red Rangers. Red flag for the red. I don't know what the red is about, but it seems like every single Red Ranger either ended up dead or killed somebody. Including, there was a guy named Ricardo. He murdered someone. There was mental health issues amongst all of them, as we said. Suicides committed by Eric and Jason. Domestic violence committed by a Red Ranger named Pua. There was fraud. And there was a mysterious car accident as well. Like, she couldn't help that, but that just adds to the curse. Like, a mysterious car accident. So, again, most of these committed by Red Rangers, so.
Damn. The Red Rangers was always, like, the leaders of the group. So they were definitely like more sort of faces.
Maybe they had the most pressure or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was a lot of pressure, but also a lot of praise. Like you live in a little bit higher than the rest of the Power Rangers if you're the Red Ranger. Like everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But the one other Ranger that could rival that level of leadership and power and just, I want to be like this guy was the biggest star from the Power Rangers, who is Jason David Frank. He goes by JDF. So JDF was introduced on the show as the Green Ranger. I'm going to just do a little pause right here because I remember...
I don't remember
this episode was crazy. This motherfucker pulled up and kicked everybody's ass. He just pulled up and whooped everybody's ass. We're like, who is this Green Ranger? Like, how are they going to stop him? It was crazy. So he was supposed to be temporary, but he stayed on the show. He ended up being involved in different roles throughout the show, throughout the different seasons for over 30 years, well, around 30 years.
And that just goes to show, like, the fans loved him, the crew loved working with him. So we only wrote you in for 5 episodes, but now everybody wants more. So we're gonna suddenly make you the White Ranger. Oh, now you're the Black Ranger. Like, they just kept making up stuff just to keep him on the show.
And then J. Cole even did that little freestyle joint in the early 2010s. Team Major, I'm in the Green Ranger. I'm the Green Ranger. That was like he was an icon. You feel me? Like he was very influential, that role. So he was the longest running Power Ranger. JDF even got his brother Eric on the show, who unfortunately later committed suicide.
Yeah, and red flag because I feel like, again, the show can't make anybody do anything, but I feel like you said the environment and the mental health issues definitely played a part because I think they were, what were they, like martial arts brothers? They both had like black belts or whatever.
Yeah.
And so here's Jason, who ends up on the show for like 30 some years. And Eric was like, oh, I'm going to get my big shot too. But they kind of wrote him off. He only had like 5 episodes.
And I hate to see that when families in Hollywood go through pain and loss because of Hollywood. Like you putting your brother on to this show. We actually were, it's funny, we were watching a documentary about
it was this Hollywood Demons. They have an episode about Iron Claw.
Yeah, and that family. I don't know if you guys seen that movie, but it sucks when Hollywood and all that pressure gets involved with a family, and just hate to see it.
And it's a little comparison when it's like, I'm thinking about like the Jonas Brothers. Like everybody loves Nick, everybody loves Joe, and then Kevin always got the leftovers, Damn. So it's a little bit of comparison when you have brothers on a show.
So if you watch Power Rangers, you understood, his character was charming. Like I said, he had a great leadership traits on the show, but apparently he was like that in real life too. He was charming. He was a little too goofy sometimes.
That's a red flag to me. I'm sorry, but that's always a red flag when
somebody joke too much.
Yeah, like we can joke a little bit, but why you always got something to say, They
said his energy was always on 1,000 and he never said no to a stunt. That's a red flag to me.
Yeah, that would make me think you're on drugs or something.
Bruh, like, calm down, bro. Like, we could do some of these flips for you. Like, nah, like, okay, okay. But he really leaned into the Power Rangers fandom, constantly doing conventions, constantly, some people kind of don't like that, all the attention, but he really embraced it. So I think, after a while that continued to weigh on him as well. Matthew Sterling, who was a fan who took being a Power Rangers, like
they call them stans these days. When you're like a super fan, like a stan.
So he was a super fan. He was like a guy that does too much, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he attempted to kill JDF. Like,
red flag. Y'all be taking this stuff too seriously. This man in his police interview was like, yeah, he is the White Ranger, so we got to defend him. We got to blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, this is a show, right?
Yeah, that's what is scary about Hollywood because, you motivate, kids to want to fight for justice and all of this, but you also got these, grown-ass men who, stalk people or... You hear all the time with even like celebrities, performers, like these people end up finding out where people live.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
They send you death threats. That's a lot to weigh on somebody's mind for an extended period of time. So ultimately, JDF committed suicide like his brother in November 2022. RIP. I remember when this happened and everybody was just like, damn, like Tommy.
Yeah.
Fucking Tommy, man. Like that's the Power Ranger I remember him as, Tommy. But that kind of just goes to show like what's wrong with it. Like I think of Tommy, whereas his family is thinking of
Jason.
You feel me? Like his life, his moments, learning how to ride a bike. Like those are moments that his family are going to miss him for. But like as fans, we kind of just see people for who they are on screen.
And like, what would his life have been like if he wasn't on that show for 30 years? We
don't know. So the Power Ranger stunt coordinator claims that JDF talked about suicide early on. Nobody really
red flag. That's the bone I had to pick with the stunt coordinator because I'm like, you heard him early on talking about suicide, talking about everything that he's going through in his life, but y'all just kept on rolling. The episodes just kept on coming.
But this is what I want to ask, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate or nothing because, like, how do you stop somebody from committing suicide? You know what I mean?
It starts with mental health. It starts with therapy.
So, like, if
Like they didn't care about their actors' mental health on the show. If they did, they wouldn't have worked them 7 days a week.
I feel like right now in this moment in 2025, mental health, suicide prevention has never been where it is as far as the steps that we do to acknowledge it, the resources you have to help prevent it, and just the overall awareness of the, of what it is. But I'm like, that's what's so scary about it still, because if somebody comes up to you and you think that, they might be suicidal, you can give them the phone number, but they still have to call.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's I guess that's what's so scary about this thought, to see all of these young actors, go down this path. Is just very, very, sad, and it's unfortunate to the families. I can't stress that enough. But it turns out that JDF did have childhood trauma. He had bipolar disorder, hypomania. He was on pills. If y'all don't know,
all those things, like somebody could have diagnosed him earlier on or anything like.
And the pills that he could have been taking recreationally could have been making his bipolar worse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So these are things that people don't talk about. And the fact that he was always goofy, his energy was always on 100.
Exactly.
That's a form of depression.
Exactly.
Like people who are super, super happy, yeah.
They got problems
when that
too.
flips, they're super, super sad or super, super angry. So it's good to be balanced, and it's hard to be balanced when you're in Hollywood. So he was giving advice to his followers when he should have been taking it, when he should have been in therapy.
He was one of them people like, hey guys, never give up on Instagram, but then you go and commit suicide. So
he's the fucking White Ranger. It's like, you know what I'm saying? So like, even me hearing this, I'm like, suicide? Like, damn, I didn't know he was going through all that, but how the fuck would I? So,
well, that's what I'm saying. If you call yourself a fan, people who follow on social media, can't you tell when they seem a little bit down? Can't you tell? People have been talking about Britney Spears for years. Like, why Britney always dancing on Instagram in her house looking crazy? Maybe she needs help.
But this leads me to the main point of this. Don't idolize or look up to celebrities, actors, athletes too much.
Even superheroes, they're not really superheroes. They're not really invincible.
Because like, you don't know what these people are really going through. For example, the new Superman, right? I think he did a great job killing that role. He represented what it means to be Superman. The motherfucker saved a squirrel during the movie, like, and we don't know, that guy, the actor, could either be a great guy in real life or he could be a piece of shit. But if I live my entire life trying to be like Superman, and this message is really for the young kids, because if you're an adult trying to be like Superman, then fam, you really need to, talk to somebody. But I guess what I'm just trying to say is, we can't worship these people too much, because we don't know where they're at when they're at that high.
Yeah.
Like, in this moment, that actor playing Superman can be depressed. He could be going through the worst moment of his life. But this movie can make us feel like, oh, this is somebody I can aspire to be like. That's why it's important to like kind of tone it down. But I understand, a lot of people don't have people to look up to, like, so it's
There's
easy.
nothing wrong with being like in the fandom and going to the conventions and all that, but just please remember, like, these people are human,
Yeah, and they are. And to the celebrities and actors out there who, get in this spotlight, my only prayer for you is that you get paid and you get treated like you should, and with respect and dignity. And I hope that you can, get help to like I said, keep that balance, because I can't imagine what it's like to be a freaking Power Ranger, man.
It's sad, because we all probably wanted that when we were a kid, right? When I was a kid, I was like, ooh, I can't wait to be on Disney Channel and be like, my name's Christina, and you're watching Disney Channel. But now I know what they were going through. Yeah. And even now, you and I talk about, oh, if we had kids, would you ever put them in modeling? Would you put them in...
I'm like, hell no.
I just don't think that it's a safe thing to do right now.
All the documentaries we watch, I'm like, nah, like, it got to be independent, and I got to be at every rehearsal, every shoot. Like, it's a scary thing. Yep.
So let's get into some Watchy Awards. This is where we award our favorite person from the documentary with just some kudos, because they really stole the show for us. I'm trying to think. I think I want to give mine to... I can't remember the black lady's name, but she was a Yellow Ranger. She was like one of the first Yellow Rangers.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember her name right now. But for the most part, she said that her experience was positive. she still looked at the Power Rangers as a family, and you know, she was really grateful for the experience. But she's the one who said like she barely made any money, and she was a little salty about being replaced so easily. And I agree. I feel like you talking about you giving young people these opportunities, but then you're ripping it away, leaving me in the dust. And then she really wasn't able to get any more acting gigs after that.
Yeah,
so
that's trash.
Just shout out to I got to shout out representation. Basically, I'm shouting out the Black women Power Rangers because there weren't that many of us on TV, and to see, you know, when they take that helmet off, it's a Black woman underneath. That really means a lot to little girls like me. So
Word. So
I want to find her name.
Word. I'm going to give my Watchy Award to just like the overall ambition and the hunger that these actors had, the original Power Rangers, because it ended up screwing them over as far as like them being, you know, overworked and underpaid. But I just feel like they started something that was way bigger than themselves, and I hate that they had to pay the ultimate price of going through all of these different levels of depression. But as a kid growing up in the 90s, like I really felt like the Power Rangers were like a level above the police.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, seriously, like it's because they represented what it meant to be a good person and to take matters into your own hands to protect the people you love. And I remember, I'm going to give you all a quick little story. I'm a little talkative this episode because I love the Power Rangers. But they had a movie that came out not too long ago, a real life movie. And me and my best friend, Nate, were pissed because they made the Power Rangers these rejects. You know what I'm saying? Who like kind of didn't fit in. But the Power Rangers I grew up with, they like were active in the community. Like they gave back. Like they had, you know, they didn't like bully kids.
They did good in school.
And you know, the movie, like they kind of, you know, grew up and they matured and they became better people throughout. But those are the Power Rangers I remember. And unfortunately, the actors and the actresses didn't really have the best experience. But your sacrifice didn't go in vain because you did, you know, show a lot of young people back then what it means and the sacrifice that's necessary to be a good person. So shout out to y'all for laying it all on the line. But our thoughts.
I found her name. The Yellow Ranger I was talking about was Tanya Sloan.
Okay.
And so, like you said, even if she was only on one season, she still made a difference. She still represented and touched some kids, you know.
They said that the Pink Ranger was everybody's crush. I'm gonna be real with you. I was looking at Tanya back in the day. You know, I ain't worried about the Pink Ranger. You know what I'm saying? Like, no offense, man. I'm just saying.
Oh my, no,
that was
totally understand.
That was one of my first little childhood crushes.
Yeah, we
all had a little black girl that was a Power Ranger. I was like, okay. What was her name? No, not Trixie. I forget.
It says her name was. She played the Yellow Ranger. Blah blah blah. Oh wait, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know her name.
Who remembers?
Oh wait, I think the real actress's name was Nakia, and the Power Ranger's name was Tanya.
Okay.
My bad. She still look good. She only 50 years old. So that concludes this episode. Again, this series, definitely watch-worthy. It's called Hollywood Demons. It's produced by Investigation Discovery. So each episode is different. They did an episode about the Housewives, y'all. I'm going to have to talk about that one. Maybe that could be a bonus episode because they talked about just these Hollywood demons. No matter what industry you touch, if it's music or if it's acting or if it's modeling, there's always some dark underbelly. And so the Power Rangers, hope we didn't ruin it for y'all, but you might be looking at it differently now when you see Jason on screen or when you think about some of these child actors. You know, you would think it would be fun to play a Power Ranger, but apparently it was not.
It was.
So, again, we hope that you subscribe to the show if you like what you heard today. Subscribe on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at WatchworthyPod, on TikTok at watch.worthypod. Leave us a review, rate, comment, share this with your mama, auntie, your friends who love Power Rangers, and we'll be back next time with another episode.
Peace. It's morphin' time.